Okay, here we go. All right, welcome, Mackenzie. We are here again for our wine series. We have Chia joining us again and our lovely Felipe joining us as well. So today we're doing our white wine series. Last week we had some technical difficulties. We deeply apologize. Our red wine series we are going to repeat, but at the end of the series so that we can keep the original dates scheduled. All right, welcome, Kenzie. We are here again for our wine series.
Oh, that's your computer listening.
Listen.
Yes, that's more technical
No big
difficulties.
deal. We promised we didn't drink before. Oh, good. We have sound though. That's
Yes.
interesting.
You want to go to the other room and just, he'll be right back in just a moment.
I'll be drinking wine by myself.
So as I said, what we're going to do is to keep the dates on schedule. We're just going to extend a date at the end and add the red wine series in because I'm really sure you would all enjoy and love that red wine series. So today we are doing our white wine series. We have 3 white wines we're going to be trying today. One is a Vouvray from France. We have a Gewurztraminer from California, and we have a Kendall Jackson Chardonnay. So these are all medium-bodied wines, and they're also considered medium dry, which means they may have a little bit of residual sugar. There may be some sweetness in them. So let's get started. So again, when we have wine tastings, there are particulars that you need to be aware of. We can have a blind wine tasting where you do not know the names of the wines, but today we do know the wines and the types that we're going to be tasting. We will be following along with the WSET guidelines for tastings. So what is the WSET? The WSET is a set of rules that were established back in 1969 in the UK, and it was established so that winemakers and producers could have a similar language to communicate and describe the wine and the grapes and everything in the same vein. So that's what this is, and we're going to be following along. This was also included in a link for you to print out, and you can follow along. So if you have these wines with you, go ahead and open them now so that you can follow along with us. We're going to start with the lightest wine and work our way to the heaviest, which would be the Chardonnay. Some other things you want to have on hand is a glass of water, so to cleanse your palate. We also have a few crackers here, just in case you need them to also cleanse your palate as well. So some things we're going to be talking about today is plastic cork versus regular cork. So some things in the industry right now is plastic corks. So we have a plastic cork here, which you can see a little bit, and then we have a regular cork here. This is the Chardonnay. We're going to open this with the foil cutter and the corkscrew so you can see how that actually works. But this is our first wine, and it's from France, and they use a plastic cork. Is plastic better than natural cork? That's the big debate now. To be sustainable, you would want to find some alternatives to using cork because cork is actually dying off. Does that mean that your wine is more expensive because you can pay a little extra to put a real cork in your wine? That's also debatable as well. So we're going to start tasting and we will decide. So the first glass you have is the Bougrier, which is from France. So on the WSET, one of the things it wants you to do, cheers.
Cheers.
So the WSET, we start with appearance. So let's look at the appearance of the wine. And we're going to start there.
Very clear.
And so the description, it asks, is it bright, clear, dull, or cloudy? So this is definitely clear.
Yes.
Almost bright.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to move on to the nose. Now, we discussed when you get a glass of wine and you're doing a tasting, the first thing you do is put the wine in the glass and then you smell the aroma. You do not swirl the wine in the glass because that will stir up everything. So we want you to take your first sip, smell of the wine, and what hits the nose first. Don't be quiet, don't be shy.
I'm thinking.
It's a lot.
It smells floral.
Yes, it is floral.
And I smell a little bit of fruit, but I'm trying to
Yes.
identify which fruit.
Try to identify
I don't
the
know
fruit.
if it's peach,
Pear, maybe.
pear.
I get a little bit of green apple candy.
Mhm.
Really?
You smell that? Like a Jolly Rancher, a
It's-
green apple Jolly
And
Rancher?
it's so light.
Yes.
Mhm.
So this is the kind of wine with the weather we've been having lately, 75 degrees, sunny, you sit out on your balcony and you have a little sip of this.
A little?
A little,
Just
Okay.
one.
just two. If you have a glass like Felipe's glass, you'd have a whole
Yes.
bottle.
Have you seen my glass? I'll show it to you later.
This bottle runs average about $12 to $14. This is from Total Wine, but it's very reasonably priced. So now let's go ahead and swirl and see if you pick up any other aromas. Smells different, doesn't it?
Not as crisp as before.
See, I'm getting
More
stone fruit.
apple.
I'm getting more stone fruit like peach or nectarine.
Yeah, there's more
Oh.
fruit to it.
Mm.
Yes.
So now we're going to taste. So when we taste the wine, you don't take a gulp, you just take a little bit in your mouth, swish it around, hold it, breathe through your nose, and then swallow. I know it sounds like a lot to do, but it really isn't. So we're going to give it a try. You too.
Ready, Chia?
Here we go.
Cheers.
So take a little sip, push it around, hold it, then breathe through your nose, then swallow.
Wow,
Mm.
a lot of fruit,
A lot.
which is, I'm not used to having this is Chardonnay, right?
No, this is the Gewurztraminer. I'm sorry, this is
Got
the Vouvray from France.
That makes sense.
So is your mouth watering?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it means that the acid is really high in the wine. Acid in the wine will make your mouth water. So this wine, we would consider it juicy because it makes the mouth water.
Hmm.
Is there any burn?
No.
So the alcohol is very low. Let's check and see. The alcohol content, which is also on the bottle, is 12.5. That's pretty low.
It is low.
That's low. This is the Bougrier. The reason why you want to pay attention to the alcohol, so when you go to purchase a bottle of wine, if you want that burn, you know you have to get a pretty high alcohol. If you don't, you know you need to get a relatively low percent of alcohol.
What is considered high?
High is 14 or higher. 12 is actually medium, but I've seen wines as low as 7% alcohol.
Oh, really?
I've never paid attention to that. To
But
the
when you-
alcohol
Yeah, me
content.
neither.
But when you're tasting, and particularly when you're trying a new wine, we're doing this tasting so you will be encouraged to try new wines that you may never have tried before. And I know you had expressed not having an interest in white wine, but this is a little different.
Oh, I love white wine.
You love red wine and white wine. He, the lover of all wines.
What's not to love?
It's so good. So many options. Can we taste it again? See?
Of course.
Yes, we should.
But the Bougrier, everyone thinks Chardonnay, or they think, what's the other white wine that's really popular? Riesling,
Riesling, I think is what my mom likes.
right? But this is, Bougrier is from France. It's about the same cost. It's light, very fresh, very juicy.
Right.
This is great. This would be really good with some cheese and fruit, just something light. This is the kind of bottle of wine you always want to have in your refrigerator.
You heard that, people.
Always have a sound for you guys. Okay. So let's go back to our W set and let's address some of the questions. So under palate, it asks about sweetness. How sweet is it? Would you consider it very sweet or a little sweet?
I think it's sweet, very sweet.
It's very sweet.
For me, it was sweet.
So it's
Very,
really,
yeah.
it's actually considered medium dry. So remember,
Oh, really?
the word
Really?
dry, yes, it's considered medium dry.
Oh no, if it was watery and juicy.
It's medium dry, meaning the sugar is low. So the word dry means no sugar. So when you see a bottle of wine and it says it's dry or it's described as being a dry wine, that means it has no sugar.
Got it.
So this is a
Yeah.
medium dry, so it has a little bit of sugar.
Okay,
We said the acid was high.
yes.
I would say medium to balanced. It wasn't too much. It wasn't like your mouth was
No,
really watery, but you could definitely,
It was say balanced.
I would
I would say
balanced.
balanced, yes. And then let's look at the vintage of this particular Vouvray. So what is the vintage? The vintage again is the year that the grapes were harvested. So this vintage is 2018. So it's only 2 years old. Only 2 years old.
Not sure.
So 2 years old would be very fresh. As you said, it reminded you of being very fresh and fruity. A young wine, we call that young. That's what it tastes like. Plus, the color is very light and bright. The older the wine gets, the darker it's going to be.
So if we were to open the bottle in 5 years, do you think it's gonna be a little bit on the darker side?
It would be on the darker side, and the flavor would completely have changed within 5 years. This type of wine is meant to be drank soon. So 2 years is good. 4 years, maybe. Anything more than 4, I think this wine would be past its time. And would be very flat. It wouldn't have all that acid. It would, and all the fruit flavors that you have would change, and you wouldn't be able to.
So it's almost German.
Yeah, now I think it's perfect right now.
I mean, after 4 years.
After 4 years, it would be turning, yes. It probably would still be drinkable, but it would not taste like the wine that's in your glass right now. Yeah. Any other questions?
So I'm learning that for white wine, we can store it up to 5 years before it goes bad. So if we
Yes,
consume it within the first 2-3 years, I think is the peak.
right.
You,
Particularly white wine
right,
is designed to be consumed sooner. Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
Well, that was quite pleasant. We're gonna take another sip.
Have another sip. and
We
then we're
like
going to-
Cheers.
Then we're going to move on to our next. That's a little sweet. So this would be great with the Gewurztraminers. I mean, the Vouvrays are good with cheese and fruit. They're very refreshing. They're also great with seafood, shellfish.
Oh,
And you
nice.
could also use this wonderfully with Asian food. It would pair well with an Asian food.
Like if you want to order anything from Wild Ginger.
Anything on Wild
That would
Ginger's
pair
menu,
well.
I think this would pair very well with anything.
Fantastic.
We'll take it out for a picnic or anything.
I'll call
Yes.
Robert now.
Yeah.
What would you like?
Everything.
We want the pad thai noodles. We're gonna start with the spring rolls. And we're gonna have the lox of.
That'd be.
Seven flavor beef.
Yes.
Favorite dish, yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. My mouth is.
I know.
All right, so we'll move on to our next wine. This is the Fetzer, and this is the Gewurztraminer. Now, some of you may be familiar with Gewurztraminer. It tends to be very sweet, but Gewurztraminer can go from 0 to 100 in level of sweetness. I've not tasted this one, so it should be a medium as well as the Vouvray. I've already poured it in your glass. So we're gonna take a
Smell
look.
it?
Go ahead and take a look first. We're gonna look at the wine first. And tell me right off the bat, what do you see different?
It's a little bit darker.
It's a little darker, exactly, a little darker. And then we're gonna take,
It has some bubbles.
Yes,
yes,
it's done.
that's part of, I need to read the bottle to see if it's part of their process and sometimes it's just part of the fermentation. Because remember, all wine has been fermented, and fermentation will create bubbles.
Okay. The smell is much lighter. I feel like you don't smell it until you really get your nose over it.
Yes.
Yes, it's very, very fruity for me.
It,
Very feminine.
it,
It's like a perfume.
Fragrant.
it's very,
Yes, fragrant.
very floral, very fragrant, very delicate. Do not be misled by the fragrance and the aroma. When you taste it, it could be completely different. So do not let that mislead you. But so what do you smell when you smell this? I smell something really distinct.
I do not know what it is. Can you describe it?
It's kind of like roses, or
Kind of like roses.
I know.
I smell lychee. You know what lychee is?
no.
Oh,
Do you know what
white,
lychee is?
the white fruit.
It's white, but the outside is red and maybe
Right.
prickly, and then inside is the tender. It's a tropical fruit.
Have you ever tried a lychee martini? Oh, oh.
Our next,
Next
our next
section.
series will be martinis.
So,
Next drink.
so the Gewurztraminer, it's very floral on the nose, very floral, very delicate. I do smell that lychee. So now we're gonna swirl and see what we can come up with. We need different.
More bubbles.
So my glass is having bubbles.
Ooh, it totally just changed. It's more,
It's a little more minerally. You smell that?
yeah,
Yes,
it's almost
yes.
like a cheese smell.
Mhm,
I don't know
correct.
what that means, but you know what I mean? Like
That again is part of the fermentation, and you notice the bubbles, which is part of the fermentation. Let's see what is on the Fetzer bottle of Gewurztraminer.
that cheese.
So the flavors that we should be tasting or smelling is honeyed apricot, fresh peach, and I didn't get any peach.
Yeah.
No, me
I didn't get any
neither.
peach.
Oh, wait.
Getting some peach.
What you saying, I can smell it. It's like
Yes.
a trick of the brain.
And that's
The honey.
why.
I smell the honey.
And that's why when you read the description on the bottle, it really is pretty close to what the wine will actually taste like. So when you're looking for something new, know what it is you like. And then when you go and search it out, the person in the store can help you find it, or you can simply read the bottle. And if you don't like peaches or apricots, skip that wine because it will probably 99% of the time taste exactly like what's described on the label.
Still, every time I smell it, I feel like visiting my girlfriends in their yard, and everyone has the same fragrance, and it's very feminine, very delicate, very just gentle. Ladies, if you run out of perfume, you can use this one.
Use that one?
You'll be very popular.
So the Gewurztraminer is also, it's a German. Well, the name, Gewurztraminer. You could,
Is it this?
I would use, I would think it would be a Chardonnay. I think this is a little too sweet for fondue. Okay, so we're gonna have a little taste
All
and see
right.
what we think.
Oh my goodness.
Mm,
It doesn't taste like it smells.
No,
not at all.
I did no. Okay,
Very
I do not
peachy.
drink perfume.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
It
I
smells
can taste
very,
the honey and the peach.
and then
Very much.
the after, I get grapefruit. I get bright, ruby red Texas grapefruit.
Yes.
You get that?
I think I did. Let me try that.
This is so
So-
fascinating.
So one of the things we had mentioned before is wine tastings, to make it more interesting and less
Yes.
technical,
Uh-huh.
make it like a
Grapefruit.
mystery.
Yes.
And you're trying to
Yeah.
taste the wine and see what you can pick out of it.
Wow.
And please note, not everyone will taste the same thing. And as you said, if I hadn't said it, you wouldn't have known it. A lot of
As soon
times,
as you said it, I'm like, yes.
because you can taste something, but you can't identify what it is.
Correct.
But if someone says, it's this for me, and you go, yes, that's what it is. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I can taste it now. And the floral on the Gewurztraminer is very light. But when you taste it, it has a little heft to it. It has a little body. It has a little more body than the Vouvray.
Oh, by far.
And even though I say it's a little sweeter, it doesn't taste as sweet. It tastes a little different.
I do not like sweet wines, especially the white ones, but this one is good.
Yes.
Because it's true, once you taste it, yeah, honey flavor goes away, and then you keep the grape flavor in your mouth.
You get all the other
Sits there.
flavors. Yes. So, and also each different maker of the Gewurztraminer, it's going to taste there'll be a little different taste. Some will want more of the grapefruit, some will want more of the apricot, some will want more of the peach. It just depends. So when you go and you try them, that's the fun part. Is, well, what am I going to get this time? And then when you get a bottle you like, you go, okay, I know I like this. This Gewurztraminer, what kind of price would you put on it?
I would say $17.
$17. What would you say?
I don't think that much. Maybe like 4.
What do you think? You ready?
Yes.
$6.99.
No.
What?
$6.99.
$6.99.
$6.99.
Wow.
For the Gewurztraminer. So this is another bottle you could also keep in your
$6.99,
refrigerator.
ladies and gentlemen.
So again, price point does not dictate what the wine will taste like. So when you go to the store, you don't necessarily want to grab the $50, $40, $20 bottle of wine. You really want to search around and read the back of the package and see what it has to say. And then just try it. Okay. So let's go to our W set. So appearance we said was great. On the nose, we said was clean. And we said, did we have to put our nose in the glass, or was it very fragrant?
A little bit.
Yes, I would say the intensity is medium.
Yes.
And if it was pronounced, that would mean you could smell the wine from the glass.
Yes.
And we can smell it, but we had to get a little close to the glass. So, excuse me, on the palate, we said there is some sweetness, so we're going to say medium dry. No tannins. The body. This had more body than the Vouvray.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely had more body.
I still think it was light though.
It is very light. I was trying to pick some varietals that would be light, easily likable, but a little different in taste and texture. That's what I was going for. So acid, how was the acid? Let's try again. What's the acid like on this one?
Oh, very low for me.
Yeah, it's low. And the alcohol also is low.
Very low for me.
But it is a little. So the alcohol on this one, so by law, they must put the alcohol content on the bottle, and I cannot find it. The vintage of this is 2018. This is also very young. There is no, I can't find the alcohol. That is unusual. That is really unusual.
It's very light.
So yeah, so we said the Vouvray was a 12. I would say this is a little less than that. And this is from Monterey, California. So now we're going to progress on to our Chardonnay, which is a Kendall Jackson. And while we're opening the Kendall Jackson, we're going to show you our tools again. So this is the foil cutter, which has the 2 little prongs here. And then this is it's actually called a wine key. We call it a corkscrew. It's really called a wine key. So it has this little piece here and the corkscrew. And this one is special because it has a built-in wine cutter, which is a little knife. You see that? So we are going to use a foil cutter. You simply place it on the bottle and then twist. Clean removal. Your bottle now has a very presentable neck. no strays. And we're going to use the key. So when you put the cork, the wire piece into the bottle, do you screw it all the way in? What do you do?
No, not anymore.
I know, and not after last week's lesson.
I learned from her not to do
You do
it.
not screw it all the way in because you don't want to, A, crack the cork, 2, you don't want to break little pieces off into your wine. So you screw it almost in. And then the little notches here, the first notch, place on the lip and pull the cork out. Then take the second notch, put that on the lip and pull that out. There you go.
Voila.
This also is a regular cork. This is not plastic.
So why do people smell it? Is that a thing? Is that necessary?
Back in the day, people would smell the cork because the wine was like now, currently we have lots of wine. Back then, the wine was not as readily available. And you could actually smell the cork to see if the wine has any faults or has gone bad. But now there's no need. So if you ever go to a nice restaurant, say Kendall, and they present you the cork, please do not smell the cork. What you want to do is touch the cork and make sure that it's wet, which means they have stored it on its side. That's what you want to do. And then you can save it and write the date on it and it becomes a keepsake.
So what about if it's dry?
If it's dry, you can still taste the wine, but if there's anything wrong with it, you can send it back. But wineries and restaurants and places that have nice bottles of wine, they are not going to be storing their wines there. So now this is our Kendall Jackson. This is the Vintner's Reserve. It's the Chardonnay. We're going to pour this. Remember that punt we were talking about?
Go ahead.
So this bottle doesn't have a punt. It has one, but it's slight. Let's see if these others have it. This one doesn't have one either. It's a little indent, but not a deep punt. Let's see. This has a punt. This is the one from Italy, from France, I'm sorry. It has a punt. So you put your thumb in and then you hold it so that you can see the front and then you would pour. If you're going to practice this somewhere you won't drop the bottle. I don't want you writing me and saying I dropped my bottle and I ruined it. So here's the Kendall Jackson. I'm going to pour this. Remember, we are tasting the wine right now, Felipe. So we're only going to pour about an ounce in the glass. But when you are actually pouring the wine for your guest, you're going to pour about 4 ounces, and you should get about 5 pours out of a bottle. So if you're having a party, you know how much wine you need to have based on your guests. So Felipe gets his own bottle, and then you have to multiply towards your other guests. Let me pour myself a little.
Wine is good for you, the antioxidant.
Yes, wine is good for you. By the way, wine is antibacterial. Did you know that?
Wait, say that again?
Wine is antibacterial. The pH in wine is so high, nothing can grow in it. So wine is antibacterial. So,
problem solved.
But I'm not saying to
You
bake
know what
it.
that means now.
But it is antibacterial. All right, so this is our Chardonnay. This is the heaviest of the 3 wines that we're tasting, so we're tasting it last. We're going to look at the color.
Definitely darker.
It's definitely darker.
Hazy.
Well, I think it's the bubbles are still
Oh.
moving around from when I poured it.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so let's take. I could smell this before I got to the glass. Could you?
Yes. Oh yes, definitely.
And what do you get? What kind of aromas do you get?
Something more buttery
Yes.
with fruit, but I do not know which one it might be.
I get cantaloupe.
See, here we are. Like, oh yeah.
I don't get cantaloupe.
You do not. It's not very fruity. It's just a very settled scent of fruit.
And this was processed a little differently than the other, so it's going to taste a little different.
It almost seems more like woodsy.
Right.
This was also aged in oak, and that could be the woodsiness that you are smelling.
Ah.
So let's do a little swirl in the glass and see what we can come up with.
Mm.
Definitely buttery now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I feel like it smells like Paula Deen's kitchen. A lot of butter.
I get a little. Get a pinch of-
For sure.
So Chardonnay is a little oaky, or Chardonnay can be described as having a little oakiness because it's aged in oak. This I don't think has a lot of oak aroma on it.
More water.
I smell the butter. It also, I smell fruit, but I can't. I smell fruit like it was cantaloupe earlier, but now it's more like a peach or a stone fruit. And ripe. This is ripe fruit. So Kendall Jackson's from California.
I get pear maybe. I said that earlier though.
Is it pear or is it what kind of pear? Is it au jus? Is it red pear? Or and the reason why I ask because
Like
they
one of those
all
kind of funky brownish green ones, you know. That's
right
like
because
long
they
and-
do taste differently.
Not like your regular green pear. Like
Right, because they smell differently. So to just say pear, you
Yeah.
have to really
I don't know what they're called. You know,
Mhm.
it's not the regular green.
okay, so let's I'm also getting some vegetable something like bell pepper maybe.
Bell pepper?
Are you getting that? Something green.
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It might be me.
Celery?
Okay, let's take a sip. Oh,
Oh, it tastes like home.
Mm.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh my goodness.
okay, so
Precious.
More
Acid.
peppery to me.
acid, what's the acid? And how's your mouth? Is it kind of watery? Your mouth
Yes.
watery?
It is watery.
Very.
You feel any burn from alcohol?
Yes, a little bit. Yes.
Can you still feel the wine in your mouth even though you swallow it?
Oh yes,
Okay,
yes,
so
yes, yes.
That is called the finish or the feel.
Mm.
If
Like
you drink the wine and then you can still feel like the wine's in your mouth, that's part of the body and that's part of the feel. So it definitely has more body than the first two.
Yes.
It has less sugar than the first two. It has the same acid. And alcohol, I can kind of feel that little bit of burn.
Not anymore.
And this is a little, this is definitely, I would say, more on the drier side. It's very, there's no sweetness at all. I don't take any sweetness.
No, it'll be more. Yeah.
So let's see what Kendall Jackson says about their wine. Fermenting in small oak barrels adds rich undertones of vanilla, tropical aromas. That could be tropical fruit that we're smelling. Could be pineapple, could be the lychee, could be papaya, and then flavors of pineapple, mango, and papaya. So
Okay,
those,
now I have to try it.
so taste it again and see if you can taste all those.
Let me taste the papaya.
I more smell papaya than I taste it.
I love papaya, but I can't taste it here.
I can smell it, I can't taste it either. So did any of you have any of these? Did you have the same taste sense that we had, or was it something different than what we had? You have to let us
I'm
know.
not sure.
So the Chardonnay has a little more body, a little more acid, a little more alcohol than the other two,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still considered a medium weight, a medium bodied wine. You can still have a glass of this by itself out on your veranda, so to speak. You don't need to pair this with food, but if we were to pair this with food, it would taste 10 times better.
Better. Yes.
It's, the other two are very juicy. This is luscious.
What would you pair it with?
So the Chardonnay, this particular Chardonnay, for all the vegetarians out there, this would be great with a green salad, with a garlic dressing, some kind of dressing with garlic in it, something creamy. Use it for the butter. So a green goddess dressing or any kind of creamy dressing would go with this, with a little sour cream or mayonnaise in it.
What fettuccine pasta?
My personal taste, I would not, but if that works for you, that would go. I would not pair it with fettuccine. I would go one of the other two. This would definitely go with a grilled chicken. This would be fantastic with a barbecue chicken.
I was thinking salmon.
Yes. Any kind of salmon would go with that, definitely. But char grilled would go. You can do a salmon poached in olive oil with pesto.
Oh, yes.
That would be
Yes.
fantastic.
Love that.
Would be fantastic with that. So the Chardonnay, because it's a little heavier, it can withstand a little bolder meal with it. Whereas the other two would be excellent with cheese and fruit. The Chardonnay would also, but I would actually have that with my meal.
Oh, yeah.
With my meal. Right. But the other two would be your aperitifs. Have them to get the day started and then finish your meal with the Chardonnay.
If you remember the steps.
So this concludes our white wine session. If you should have any questions or comments that you had while we were doing this, please shoot me an email. I'm in active building. You can let me know and I can assist you. Again, this is just a wine series to get you a little more familiar with wine. This is not to make you a master sommelier. This is simply to open you up to trying different wines, to making it a little more easier for you to go to the store to purchase wine. Never be afraid to ask the salesperson in the wine department to assist you and tell them, I like apricot, I like peaches, I like tropical flavors, I want low acid, I want high alcohol. They can assist you in picking out exactly what you're looking for. And it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. So Kendall Jackson, that bottle, what do you think for price?
$11.50.
I was going to say 12.
That was actually 14. That's because this is the Vintner's Reserve, so it's aged a little bit longer and a little different. So price is not an issue. You can have a price in mind when you go. The Vouvray is from France. Everyone thinks wine from France is really expensive. That's a $12, $13 bottle of wine. And it is delicious. So do not be intimidated. This is to make it a little more comfortable for you and to get you outside the comfort zone. So any questions, please, again, send them to me at Active Building. Be more than happy to help you. If you are planning a meal and you want to get some wine and you need some help or guidance, I would be happy to assist you with that as well. So we want to thank Chia for joining us again, and a wonderful Felipe for also joining us. So please join us again next week when we will have champagne and bubbles.
Yes.
So that would be a lot of fun.
Okay,
All
great.
right.
My
See you
favorite.
soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Cheers.
Have a good night
Oh, good morning.
or a good anything.